Hello, and welcome to Pointed Questions. My name is Brent Weinbach. With me is Donny Divanian. Our guest today is Victor, who is a firefighter. We will be talking to him about fires and friendship on this episode of Pointed Questions. How long have you been a firefighter for?
I've been with my current department for about 11 years, and then prior to there, I was actually a forest fireman for 4 years.
What's a harder job, working in a city environment or in the rustic, rural environment?
Well, they're definitely they're each difficult in different ways. Obviously, in the mountains, you don't have as much like traumatic experiences that you see and stuff like that. So you don't see people obviously laid out, hurt, and all that kind of stuff, and children and all those types of things. But the physical aspect of forest firefighting is definitely way harder, especially when you're only getting paid like $11 an hour. Those guys are seriously underpaid.
Do the fires act differently in those environments?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're way different. Obviously, a structure fire, when they occur, it's kind of an exponential thing. So a little room catches on fire, and then every minute it's doubling in size. So it's really based upon arriving there very quickly and being able to act very quickly versus forests. Obviously, you're not going to throw your neck out to go save a bunch of trees. You know what I mean? So it's just kind
or
of
animals. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just fundamentally different.
Do the fires have different personalities in the two different environments?
They do, only because in a structure fire, you're obviously either inside with the fire in a compartment area. So
They're more threatening.
They're more threatening, correct.
Do you think that fires have personalities?
Oh, 100%.
What are some different kind of personalities you encounter?
Angry.
Angry. They're all angry?
They're all angry.
Are there any nice fires?
No.
No.
Unless maybe a
Even
campfire, but you're looking at it from a distance.
Do you ever look at a fire sometimes and think, "Oh, this fire ain't nothing," you know? Like, do you ever think, "Oh, that fire thinks it's something, it's nothing"?
Absolutely not.
No, every fire is a threat.
But even like a candle is not much.
I mean, okay, within reason, sure, you know. But when we speak of fires, obviously I'm referring to more
Right.
things that are burning that shouldn't be burning. And
Right.
that mentality of, oh, yeah, I got this, is a very dangerous mentality because generally speaking, things go south when you're not expecting them to. So if you're not expecting things or waiting for them to go south, then it's kind of too late at that point. You know what I mean? So
Did you ever play with fire a lot when you were younger?
all the time.
Do you think that's why you became a fire?
I mean, obviously,
Fire?
I would say the majority of firemen are definitely obsessed
With fire.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. Yeah,
That's interesting.
Did you ever light anything on fire?
a ton of stuff.
Did you have to have a fireman come down and put it out?
No, but definitely, I got spanked and grounded many times for lighting things on fire.
What did you light on fire?
My house, my carpet.
You did on purpose?
I did. Yeah. I mean, I was 3-4 years old.
Oh,
So
right.
Did you
Yeah.
ever used to take apart firecrackers and stuff and play with?
I actually used to build them.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. So most firemen are always fascinated with fire.
Absolutely.
And they played with fire a lot when they were kids.
I would say the majority. I mean, I wouldn't say the majority of them played with the fire, but definitely, I think it's one of those things where when you become a fireman, fires are your craft. It's your passion. Like, I became a fireman to fight fire. You know, the 90% of what we do is medical, and obviously helping people is, in general, in any way that you can, is a big reason that most people become firemen. But the primary reason is definitely to fight fire, because it's something that you look at a fire and you want to conquer it. You know, you want to.
In order to fight fire, do you need to understand how to make fire? And what I mean by that is not just start lighting something on fire, but do you need to understand how to make fire happen?
I would say
Make fire
no,
spread.
Not really, but part of becoming a fireman, it's a very long process, actually. Most people don't realize that the amount of training and education that we go through. It took me 7 years. It took 37 tests, not counting the Forest Service when I was with them. But the process of becoming a municipal fireman is extremely, extremely difficult.
Do you have to be physically? Is there a certain level of physical fitness that you have to be at?
Yes.
To be a fireman? And if you're not at that level, you won't make it.
Correct. Yeah.
They won't let you in?
Nope. There's an actual physical agility test that you have to take before you join any department.
How much do you have to weigh?
Well, weight is really not the issue. It's you have to accomplish.
How much do you have to lift?
Even that's not. There's no set number like they say. You know, in the fire service, you have fire oxes and fire foxes. So you got smaller guys and bigger guys, and they both serve their different purposes depending on what you're doing.
Little guys can wiggle around.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
they're called foxes.
Well, not really, but it's just kind of like
Foxes and oxes, you say?
Pretty much, yeah. Like smaller dudes,
Are you an
bigger
ox?
dudes.
Are you an ox? Are you considered an ox?
He's an ox.
I'm definitely a bigger dude.
Well, no, I'm because I'm wondering what the scale is. Because if you're a fox, I'm thinking, oh wow, what's an ox?
No.
Okay.
Oh my god, you're like 195.
Me?
207.
235.
Oh
Yeah.
You 6'2"?
6'3".
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a classic fireman?
I'm not really sure how to define a classic fireman, but
Well, what is there such thing as a classic fireman? Classic guy who saves the day, kind of thing.
Well, I would say in general, people have like a general idea of what they think a fireman is or looks like or whatever. Back, 60, 70, 80 years ago, 100 years ago, traditionally firemen were bigger guys because obviously there's a lot of physical strength needed to perform the job. All your gear, when you add it all up and you're carrying your tool, it's around 80, 90 pounds of gear in addition to what you're going to go do in the fire.
What are foxes for? Like tech stuff? They're kind of behind the boards.
No, we're all in the same place, but
they're doing computer stuff.
Especially when it comes to urban search and rescue, going into small confined spaces and stuff like that. I mean, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter how big you are. It's can you do your job?
Is firefighting a masculine job? I mean, is there a sense of masculinity that comes with being a firefighter?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure there's women on the force or
there
whatever,
are,
but
sure.
but is it that's? Do you feel a sense of masculinity as a firefighter?
Yeah, I would say overall, definitely.
Do you feel like more of a man
Than me?
than say us?
No, not at all.
There's no sense of like we're kind of like more warrior types than say other guys.
I mean, anybody in civil service, whether it be the military, the police, or fire, it's all kind of the same deal. They're just different beasts that they're battling, so to speak.
Sure. Do you think there are guys that are in your department that do feel that way, that feel more manly than other men?
The fire service is funny. It's kind of like anybody's regular family, right? In your family, you've got people who act a certain way, think a certain way, and then you've got other ones that aren't on the same page. So the fire service as a whole, it's like society.
It's like anything else. So there's
Right.
not a particular abundance of sort of machismo in the fire department. It's just as much as there would be in any.
I would say so.
Yeah.
The difference being that, generally speaking, different fire stations have a certain culture within the culture. Like the fire service in general has its own culture. We have our own customs. We have our own traditions, and even within each department, every station has its own little culture. So typically, the more aggressive guys who really get after it, so to speak, they tend to kind of congregate in the busier areas of whatever city you work in. So like the places I've worked tend to be, a collection of guys that are more aggressive in general.
Oh, so you usually work in the more aggressive.
Yes.
With aggressive groups.
Yeah.
Within that more sort of macho, group setting, is there a real strong sense of camaraderie?
Oh, very, very strong. I've been with my crew for 8 years now.
How many in the crew?
We have 10 people. We have a truck company, an engine company, and a rescue, which is an ambulance. And we've been together 10 years. So,
are you best friends?
Yeah. I mean, we hang out on the job, off the job.
Do you guys sleep is it a similar thing where you guys are sleeping in this sort of dormitory type thing at the fire station?
Yep.
Is that a real thing?
Yes. It's a 24-hour shift at a minimum, but often we work, 48, 72. Or even,
I'm sorry, how long is the shift?
A minimum of 24 hours.
Minimum of 24. How long? What's a maximum shift?
For our department, it's 96 hours.
Wow. So you guys are kind of bunked up, and then are you sleeping the whole time in case you need to do something, and then you spring up and jump in?
So kind of the way it works is, the daily life is every day you come to work, you get there around 6:30 in the morning, you put all your stuff, check all your gear, make sure everything's fire ready. And then, we cook. We go to the store. That's why most supermarkets, you'll find firemen at the store somewhere around 10 o'clock-ish.
In the morning?
Mm-hmm. Because we go shop together, and then you cook 2 meals for the day. Cooking is kind of a big deal.
At the station? And what are you guys eating?
Eggs.
I mean,
Protein?
you find what's on sale. You cook lunch and dinner, and then breakfast is usually kind of like everybody shows up, eats leftovers, has cereal, whatever.
Do you guys is there the pole? Is that a thing that you guys actually slide
Yeah.
down? Is that a real thing, or is it just
It's a real thing.
For speed or what?
It's for speed, yeah. Because if you're
it's
up,
just a fast way to get downstairs?
any 2-story / 3-story fire station is going to have a pole or slide.
Why are you
generally
upstairs anyways?
Yeah.
For different reasons. All the dormitories in a 2-story station are generally upstairs.
Do you have your own room, or is it you sleep? Oh, really?
Oh, you do.
So-
So there's not. I've sort of seen this depicted in I don't know, cartoons and stuff, where it's it's just like a bunch of beds in one room. Like kind of like a almost military style or something. You
Yeah,
know?
so all the stations used to be that way. It was just bunks.
Yeah,
and then,
bunks, yeah.
big open rooms. But with modifications, for females and stuff like that,
Yeah.
they're obviously making all the changes to all the fire stations. It's required now. So they're
So
building,
everybody has their own room.
they're actually building rooms as we speak. We still have fire stations that are being converted right now.
Have you worked in settings where it was bunks?
Yes.
What do you obviously probably prefer your own room? Or do you like the
it's
do you like the
interesting.
camaraderie of
Well,
the bunks?
I do. The bigger problem is not really so much when you're sleeping, because when you sleep, you sleep. But we used to have big locker rooms where everybody would hang out in the morning, get dressed for the day, and a lot of like hanging out with your buddies kind of happen in the morning,
right.
the
Chit-chat and all
afternoon.
that.
Everyone's BSing around.
When you were in the bunks, did you guys ever stay up late, just talking about life and talking about girls and stuff like that?
Absolutely. I mean, you're
It's kind of
talking
like
about
it's kind of like a sleepover, kind of almost.
at a minimum,
That's a good one, dude.
1/3 of your life is spent with the people you work with every day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are extremely, extremely close
Do you guys joke around a lot?
all the time.
Do you guys mess around with the equipment ever? Is it for fun? Do you mess around with the hoses and stuff?
I mean, when we're training, you gotta train hard, play hard. So yeah, occasionally there might be a water fight or something like that. But we take our job very seriously.
So when there's a water fight,
Yeah.
are people getting blasted super hard with these hoses or what?
Sometimes. I mean,
Doesn't it hurt? Or
Nah, it doesn't really hurt.
oh, really?
It'll knock you down. I mean, obviously, you're not going to take a 2.5-inch like large diameter hand line and just throw it on somebody, because that could be dangerous. But the smaller ones, sure,
Has anyone ever, as a joke, knocked somebody down with the water hose?
Oh, it's happened, sure.
Have you ever gotten injured by water?
No, I've never been injured.
Have you been injured by fire?
Have
Have you ever been burned?
I've been burned. I mean, most firemen. So the fire service is interesting too, because depending on where you work, it's very different, right? The city that I work for is a very busy city. There's a lot of lower income area, which generally equates to shootings, stabbings, more fires, more problems in general, right? So, yeah, I mean, if you work in that kind of environment where you burn pretty regularly, I mean, you're going to get burnt, ears, face.
Where have you been burned?
Like mostly around the areas that are more exposed. So generally, if you go to a fire, your ears and your neck and your hands kind of tend to.
You don't have gloves on or something?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You're fully covered, but a fire is a fire.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
It's hot. It's hot.
Right.
You reach a certain point in any fire where you kind of have to make a decision. Like, okay, I better nail this thing quick, or things are going to go really badly for me. Everything in the fire service is risk versus gain. Everything that you do. Because there's an inherent risk to fighting fires. So constantly through your mind, the big thing that is going is risk versus gain, Is
there ever a thought that you think, okay, I could go back in to save this dog or whatever it is, or then you think it's not worth it? If I go in to save the dog, the mentality is I always have to save everything.
Always.
So even if it's just if the odds are that it's not going to survive or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I mean I think that in general, most people that do this job, they have that mentality. Like you're not gonna give up. Period.
Right.
Obviously, I'm not gonna run into something that is gonna kill me instantly, right? But again, the risk versus gain thing, there is no stopping. You're gonna keep risking to gain as far as you can go.
It must be a very fulfilling experience to be the hero, right? To be a hero, right, and save people and save.
It is fulfilling, but the hero word for the firefighters is it's kind of like it's weird to me.
They don't like that.
No, I think in general, most people don't.
They don't like to be thought of as heroes?
No, I don't think so. It's like anything in life, right? The way I look at it is I signed up I have this job, and I'm a fireman. And I signed up to have a certain amount of risk, but understand that it's not like we're just a bunch of guys sitting around. We get hired by a city, and then we just show up at a fire station. I mean, we study our craft tremendously. There's all kinds of education and training that goes into fighting fire. From a scientific level to a physical level to a mental level. I mean, we train for it. So it's not something, I don't show up at a fire like scared. You know what I mean? You show up to a fire and you're like, okay, this is the situation I have. This is what I have to do to accomplish my goals.
Have you ever been scared fighting a fire?
I've had a few, I guess, oh shit moments in my career. Not many. I don't know if swearing's allowed.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I've definitely had a few oh shit moments. Again, if you work in a busy place, I think it's impossible not to.
What was it? What was one of those moments?
Just being real deep in a fire where you can't find it and it's getting really hot. You're getting pushed down to the floor. I think what a lot of people don't realize is when you go into a building that's on fire, you actually can't see anything, literally. Like, it's put a scarf over your eyes, and that's what you're looking at because of all the smoke and everything. I think there's a misconception that when you go into a fire, you're looking at the fire and you're going to attack it, but if you ever look at like buildings that are on fire, the volume of smoke that's produced, you literally have zero visibility. So you're working blind, essentially.
When you're on your way down to a fire, do they give you a map of the apartment or the place you're going to?
No, but that's also part of the whole deal, right? So we go on medicals 90% of the time. Like I'd say our firehouse runs, I don't know, roughly 14, 15 calls average a shift. So every area, every city's built in a general time frame, right? So the city that I work for, I already kind of have a mental layout of the buildings and how they're built, where the kitchen should be, where the bedrooms should be, and all that kind of stuff. The downside to that is, or the other side to that is that a lot of these buildings, especially in lower income areas, get chopped up, and like the big Victorian homes get chopped up into 2 or 3 units. So sometimes you hit a wall where there shouldn't be one, but you know, that's all part of the deal, working around it.
What percentage of calls are actually for fires? Or
I'd say roughly like 10% or so.
Oh, so most of them are not?
Most of them are not. Most of what we do is medicals. People having heart attacks.
Have you ever gotten a call for a cat stuck in a tree?
That's funny. I have, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
And you had to go up a tree and save the cat?
It's kind of interesting. Have you guys ever seen a cat skeleton in a tree?
We were called actually to get a cat down once.
Oh, we once saw a cat up. It was actually up on a telephone pole or something like that, but it was stuck up there. But anyway, no, I have not seen the cat skeleton in a tree. No.
That's the point. If they get up, they can get down. So we've actually responded to calls for that, and you know, generally we're just like open a can of tuna, put it at the base of the tree, and the cat's going to come down, right?
You just tell them that.
Yeah. But there was one time where we actually it was a park, and there was like 20 or 30 kids around, and we're like, oh man, there's this little kitten up there. All right, let's throw the ladder and go up there. And sure enough, I get up right within arm's reach of the cat. As soon as I go to grab the cat, he jumps, ping pongs all the way down the branches, falls flat on his face, and then runs off. So it was okay at the end of it, but the kids, it kind of freaked them out. So, yeah.
When you came back down off the ladder, were the kids shaking your hand and stuff, or were they impressed?
They were cool. They're little kids. They're just losing their minds in general.
I mean, do people ever get really okay? Actually, are there any people on the force? Is it called a force? Even though it's not. I mean, it's the fire department as opposed to the police department.
Yeah, I'd say force is usually more a reference to the police department. Yeah.
What do you call it? Like, what's your name for the force? What's the fire department's name for the force?
I mean, there's really no name. It's just the fire department, you know.
Mm-hmm. Is there anybody in your department that does like to sort of bask in the glory of being a firefighter? You know,
I mean, you're always going to have a show off or two. You know,
you got some in your unit?
Not in my unit, no, not really. My department specifically, again, our culture is definitely a little more, you know, humble. In general, I would say, like you see some guys will run around with their fire T-shirts on when they're running around Home Depot and this.
Oh,
and that.
Just trying to show off a little bit.
Not just show off; it's just they're proud of being firemen, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But specifically, my department, it's like a big no-no to wear any kind of fire gear if you're not actually working. You know, we kind of pride ourselves in being a more humble department. Yeah.
Do you have Is there rivalries between departments?
No,
or between units and stuff?
No, not at all. Because we're the best fire department. So. Yes, inherently, like, there is every fire department's got its own kind of personality.
You ever showed up to a fire and the other department's there already?
Yeah, we work with other departments.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is there ever any tension about who's taking this building and or stuff like that?
No, not really. I mean, whoever's area it is just kind of runs the show, and then you supplement them however they need it. I kind of equate our department to like the Bad News Bears. We're kind of like, obviously you go to a lot of training classes even after you're hired to become.
You guys are like jokers, but you get the job done or something?
Exactly. Like if you have a room full of firemen from different departments, generally speaking, our guys are in the back, having the most fun. But when it's time to go to work, we go to work,
What are some of the hijinks you guys get into as kind of like the more of the joker guys?
I mean, it's constant. When you're with your buddies, it's just stupid jokes all day long. I think the fire service in general, like, you do see a lot of really, really bad things, and the reality of it is, there's a lot of tough moments. Especially when it comes to like children who are seriously injured, or you see a lot of abused elderlies and kids and stuff like that. So the only real way to combat that is to have fun at work.
Sure, yeah. That's
really the only way to deal with it. So, I mean, you show up on a freeway and you've got people that are yard saled out of their car all over the freeway. I mean, it's you have to have fun at work, because if you don't,
have you seen some pretty dark stuff? I mean,
yeah.
Have you seen any dead bodies and stuff because of this?
On a regular basis.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the area I work has a lot of freeways next to it, so a lot of high-speed crashes. People, I mean, they just hurt themselves all the time.
Have you ever seen any deaths because of the fire?
Yeah.
Has there ever been any people that you guys weren't able to save from a fire, but they were alive when you got there, but then it just didn't work out?
Again, back to the visibility thing, when something's on fire, you show up, and the primary thing that you're thinking when you're going in are, I have to put the fire out, and I have to see if there's anybody in here. I mean, that's our main purpose, right? So when you go in, you're constantly looking for people that are down, and they tend to be down actually near like exits and windows and stuff like that, because people usually will try and get out of a building before they get overcome by smoke. But there's definitely some fires where it's too late, and if you come across somebody in that situation and it's too late, you just leave them there. There's nothing you can do. It's just part of the gig.
Have you carried all sorts of different kinds of people over your shoulder?
No, we don't.
Nobody doesn't happen.
We don't carry them over our shoulder like in the movies. No, I mean
that never happens.
No, not
even a kid or something.
I mean, maybe a kid, but you have to understand. Again, people, they just don't understand. Like, if you have a fire inside of a building, you literally are on your hands and knees, and sometimes your belly if it's that hot. If you stand up, you will literally burn. Like, you cannot survive. It's that hot. Our safety gear is designed in a way to take a certain amount of heat, but when you're getting up 400 or 500 degrees, no gear is going to survive that.
How come they can't create gear strong enough?
You just can't. I mean,
what about like on your helmet, some sort of spray that clears the smoke out so you can see better? Nothing.
No, it's not possible.
Nothing, huh?
It's not possible. So literally, if I'm inside of a building on fire, if you put your hand up above your head, you'll burn your hand. Like, it's that hot, So the hotter a fire gets, the lower and lower and lower you have to get. That's why when I think earlier I mentioned, like, yeah, there's been situations where you're pinned to the floor. And when I say pinned to the floor, I mean literally like you're on your belly, because if you go up 2-3 feet, you're going to burn.
If you don't carry people out, how do you get them out of a building?
You drag them out.
Drag them.
Yeah,
okay.
You got to drag them out. Grab them by, there's a bunch of fancy things you can do with straps and tools, but in the reality of it, when it's actually going down,
the heat of the moment, you're
grabbing whatever you can and just dragging them out.
What about dogs?
Yeah,
you drag dogs by their legs.
Usually, dogs you can grab them and just kind of.
When you drag somebody's body, are you kind of what about their head and stuff, hitting stuff or whatever things?
At that point,
it just does.
You really don't have. It's not a situation where them hitting their head is going to be their problem. Their problem is they're in a fire, right? So realistically, yes, you try and accommodate for all those things, and try not to add any more injury to anybody. But
Have you ever had to drag someone's body who was a bit too heavy to drag by yourself?
yeah, generally speaking, it's tends to be a 2 to 4 person operation. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's not easy to drag somebody out, especially when you're on your hands and knees.
You have headsets to talk to the other firemen that are in the building?
No,
Or
not
you just yell?
not in the fire. Yeah,
You just yell?
yeah. Well, we have actually we have microphones on the outside of our masks, so
Oh.
it's a voice amplifier, not a microphone. It's a voice amplifier.
You're trying to get people out of the building. Are people ever in sort of embarrassing kind of situations during
Like
a fire?
Like naked, not wearing
naked
clothes.
or
Tied up or
or
something?
yeah, tied up or wearing some kind of leather outfit or something?
You see a lot of weird things, that's for sure. Yeah, sometimes. I mean, it
What's
all kind of
one of
varies.
the weirdest things you've seen, or something like that, or embarrassing? Or
I
something?
mean, you name it, we've seen it. We have areas that.
Like you've seen someone handcuffed to the bed?
Yes.
Straight up?
Yeah.
And what'd you do?
I mean, unhandcuffed them. And,
Wait, with a key, or did you have to snap it off with pliers?
no, just with a key. But
And were they completely naked and aroused?
yeah, they had a low blood sugar and they passed out.
wait, was this during a fire?
No, that was during a medical.
So
they
hold
called
on.
the police.
They
They
called the fire department because they were handcuffed to the bed.
Low blood sugar. So
low blood
they
sugar.
became unconscious. Yeah.
Wait,
Wow.
so someone tied them to the bed, and then that person that was tied up passed out, and then that person that tied them up called you guys because they.
What did they say?
mean,
Did they say, "Listen, I was doing this thing. It was just a science project. We were just." What did they say?
No, I mean,
did they make up an excuse?
Obviously, people get embarrassed about things, just like everything in life, right? But I mean, you just comfort them in whatever way. We're not there to judge.
Okay, but do you guys ever kind of joke around about it after when you're back at the bunks?
Yeah, you might make a joke about it later on. We're all human beings, right?
Sure,
Funny
yeah,
is
yeah.
funny. There's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
way around that. You know.
Damn. So you just walked in and they were just tied up naked. That's wild.
Is it easy to meet women because of being a firefighter? Is that like an attractive thing for women and stuff? Or is it, as far as dating goes and stuff?
Yeah, I would say definitely it's probably attractive to women in general. The whole, I guess.
Go
I
on.
mean, it's a good job. You make decent money. You get to help people every day. So I think inherently, women are drawn to people who are doing good and are kind of
and alpha males probably.
Right. Yeah. So in that regard, yeah, I'd say firemen are definitely.
And
liked.
is it tempting to like wear your shirt to a party?
No,
Come on.
not at all.
You never
But
sneak.
you're probably not afraid to say that what you do for a living.
It's actually kind of funny you mentioned that because kind of the running joke is you always tell them like you're like a trash guy or something like that.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
again,
I'm also not trying to date somebody who wants me for my badge. You know what I mean?
Huh. Oh, so you don't usually say you're a firefighter if you meet somebody?
No, I'll just say I work for the city or whatever.
No kidding.
At what point though? Like if you're hanging out and 2 hours have passed,
It's
you're
usually your friend that throws it out there.
talking. Right. That's actually kind of a nice look. There.
Do you have a designated friend to do that? So that
No.
no.
But they'll shout it though, huh? Do you guys go to parties together?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you guys go out after when you're not working.
Yes,
you guys
we hang out all the
You
time.
still hang out
Yeah.
even when you're not working.
Family
I bet you-
parties. We do a lot of activities together. We have like
so-
annual mountain bike trips, snowboarding trips. We go out to the desert and ride dirt bikes. We go to Las Vegas. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff.
Even though it's not, I guess not kosher or whatever to tell someone what you do. Is it okay for someone in your department to say it for you? In not revealing themselves, but then for the purpose of just getting it out there to
at some point, I mean, you can't. You're not going to lie to somebody either, right? So if they
Right.
pry, they pry, and then it ends up coming out. So whatever.
And do you usually notice sort of a pleasing look on their face when they find out the truth?
It depends on the person. Some women don't like firemen.
Really?
Oh, really?
They had a bad experience.
Probably.
But what are sometimes are women kind of just do you see their eyes get bigger and they just go, oh wow.
Sometimes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean,
And what is it like with more women working as firefighters as time goes on? How does certain men are certain men not into that or what?
I'd say definitely some of the older guys in the department because women really haven't joined the fire service in larger numbers until the last 20 years or so. So the whole female firefighter thing is definitely kind of new. So
Yeah.
some of the older guys are not into it.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you, the bigger problem for us right now is actually the whole millennial
Oh, yeah.
deal. Yeah.
What about it?
We tend to see a lot more people that are failing out of our academies. They don't work as hard. They tend to be a lot more entitled. And in our job, you can't be entitled. Like, you have to love your craft and study it because you love your craft. And I think that over the last few years, we're seeing an abundance of people who don't want to work hard and go the extra mile, because it's like everything, right? You could say, hey, take this book, read it, memorize what's in it, and you got the job. Okay, cool. That's only phase one. If you're going to continue to progress and become like an advanced fireman with a greater skill set, well, you have to put in a lot of your own work. I mean, we have to know how buildings are designed, how they're built, all the different areas of construction. These are all things that you have to continuously study your craft, right? Well, it seems like a lot of the newer members don't have that passion or that drive to actually go out and put the extra work in.
This makes me think of two questions. Well, one's related to earlier, but when you fraternize with your unit, do you find it easy to fraternize with the female firefighters, or is it a different kind of energy, or what?
It's the same. Yeah. It's I actually I find it easier, and I find the women that have been hired in the last few years on our department, at least, I'd rather work with them than a lot of the guys that have been hired, to be honest with you.
But you're able to joke with them in the same way and
Yeah,
stuff?
it's the same.
Yeah. Now, about when it comes to younger members, is there is there any kind of hazing almost or anything like that? Or
you know what, there used to be some of that stuff, but it's all kind of gone away nowadays.
What is some of the hazing that is involved, like getting them hosed and stuff?
Yeah, dropping buckets of water on them off the roof, stuff like that. I mean, all that kind of stuff used to go on, but it's really, the fire service is changing a lot.
They're not allowed.
Much like society, yeah.
They're cutting down. They're being pretty strict about that kind of stuff.
They're being very strict about that.
Did you get
kind
hazed?
Of stuff now. Did I get hazed? I wouldn't call it hazing. I'd
Just
call it more initiation, right?
You got initiated?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is part of applying stress to somebody, right? That's what we'll call it. Joking with them, giving them a hard time. Those are all things that you do to apply stress to an individual to see kind of how they're going to react. Since we don't have fires every day, you have to find other ways to apply stress to somebody, like even dropping water on somebody off the roof, right? Some people would say, well, that's kind of stupid. Why would you do that to somebody? Well, it also teaches you to look up every time you walk out of a building. And looking up is part of looking for power lines when you're throwing ladders. So there's kind of like a method to the madness that people don't understand. Yeah. But, unfortunately, nowadays, you can't get away with that kind of stuff.
When the sort of applying stress process for younger people in the past, was it all kind of somewhat related in a sort of Mr. Miyagi kind of way to firefighting, or was some of it just totally just them just messing with them and not even related, like
sure, like
toilet stuff, although I'm sure that applies in some way too, actually.
It is kind of, if you want to call it Mr. Miyagi stuff, there is a method to all of it, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason behind all of it. But at the end of the day, like everything, some people take it too far, and we don't create.
Well, what's taking it too far?
I mean, taking it too far is when you're literally demeaning somebody without reason. I mean, that demeaning somebody, period, is wrong. Kind of the general saying is, if they're fucking with you, it's because they like you. You know what I mean? So if someone's not doing well and they're struggling in their 1 year probation, you kind of leave them alone and you back off of them because you really need them to focus as much as possible, right? But when someone's doing really well, then you continue adding jokes and stress and all that kind of stuff to kind of see how they react to those types of things.
Had anybody ever, because of sort of the hazing-ish kind of period, had they ever dropped out because of that? That was too much for them in the past, at least?
There's only been, I've had a rookie every year since after I got off probation, and I've only had 2 people quit, and they quit for not because of that. It was other outside family stuff or whatever,
Do people ever quit because of a traumatic thing that happens while they were in the line of duty?
I'd say there's a very small number of people that actually figure out they're scared and don't like to fight fire, claustrophobic and all that kind of stuff. But that's what the Fire Academy is for. The Fire Academy is to test all of that, and anybody that's why we have the academy, right? So you go through the academy, and if you can't cut the mustard, you get basically let go on the academy. Mm-hmm. Our academy is a point system, so you're only allowed 110 points, and then you actually are let go.
Uh-huh.
And that's for written exams and physical skills testing. So every test that you take, you get scored, and based off of your score, safety mistakes or written question mistakes or whatever, then you actually accrue points. And throughout that whole 4-month process, you pretty much point yourself out.
Do you think being a firefighter is more physically demanding than being a police officer?
No, they're just different.
Do you guys have what's your guys' relationship with the police department?
Our relationship's really good, actually. We have a very strong relationship with we go on calls together all the time. So we work with each other side by side constantly.
There's never rivalries between that.
I mean, in a friendly kind of way, you know what I mean? But
do you guys ever have, I don't know, baseball games and stuff, or stuff like that, or do
fire versus police games?
Yeah, you guys do that.
All
that
kind of
stuff. Wow.
I mean, we've been on calls where we showed up and a cop was actually, fighting with somebody, and we went in there and actually grabbed the guy off the cop.
Oh, nice.
So we help each other out.
Would you physically grab him, or you?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And was the cop like, "Thanks, guys"?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I wish my own team was.
If you're
that tight.
Well, it's just the cops we show up as a crew, right? There's a minimum of 4 of us on a fire engine or a fire truck. So when we show up, you got 4 bodies right now. Whereas a cop shows up, depending on what city they work for, it's 1 person. So if they get into it with somebody, obviously one-on-one, if they're bigger, that's a problem, right?
So you have to deal with crime stuff sometimes.
All the time. On a regular basis.
And have you come in physical contact with someone? Like a criminal?
Lots of people.
Oh, you have to. Oh, wow. Yeah, I have to deal with.
I mean, we have to. People swing on us, believe it or not. You know? You'll walk into a situation where someone's on drugs, meth out of their mind, or or just altered from low blood sugar or whatever, and people get violent. So,
have you ever gotten that axe? You ever use the axe?
I use my axe on every fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Not for people though, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
Just breaking doorways.
Is the axe heavy?
No, not really. It's probably like 15 pounds total.
Does everyone have their own axe?
Yes.
Is it yours, like specialized?
Yep. My axe is the same axe.
Want?
The day I got hired, I went out and bought one.
Oh, really?
You buy your own axe?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have anything engraved on it or anything?
I just got my name like on the top of it.
Do you guys have nicknames for each other?
Nicknames?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, really?
Hell yeah.
Because I feel like I've seen that in fire movies.
Yeah.
Everyone's got kind of handles.
Yeah. We all got. I mean, yeah. It's like being with your cousins or your buddies. You call each other stupid names. And it sticks. Usually, when somebody says someone in the room laughs, then you're pretty much stuck with that name. Do
you like your name? And was it given to you by somebody else?
I've got lots of nicknames.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you ever want to buy a new axe? Like
no.
A nicer one? Like a...
Not really.
Do they ever come out better?
They do. Actually, a few years ago, there's a company, and they came out with like a newly designed axe. So,
lighter weight?
No, you don't want a lighter weight axe.
Oh, you want heavy?
Yeah, you want it heavy, obviously, to break things or whatever.
Right.
But just kind of like the angles of it is a little different.
Do you want a little axe too? Like
no.
To have extra?
No. If you're going to use your axe, you want...
Go big.
Yeah, go big or go home.
Where do you keep the axe?
Right on the hip.
Does it have...
No, I mean like when you're not using it or whatever.
Oh, it's just right next to you on the rig. So when you get a 4-bell, we call them, for structure fire or any other kind of fire, you pretty much throw the axe belt on. It sits in a leather axe belt.
Have you ever been asleep and the bell ring? Is it a bell that rings that wakes you guys up?
We have like an alerting system, but yeah.
It's not like an actual bell, like a
there's like
school bell kind of.
There's
thing?
like a little box on the ceiling, and in each room, and different colors for different rigs. So the red one's for the engine, the green one is for the truck, the blue one's for the rescue. So that thing will actually just turn on, and it'll beep twice for anything other than a fire. If it's a fire, that's why they call them 4 bells, because it beeps 4 times.
Mm-hmm. It's loud.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. And have you ever been dreaming and you just get woken up and you're kind of still thinking about some crazy dream you had, but you're kind of trying to focus on,
it happens all the time. I mean, even if you sleep in like a different room than you're used to, and you come out the door, like your body, when you're in the middle of the night, it's programmed to do a certain thing, right? So my room, usually I come out of my door and I make a right and I make my way down the hallway. Well, if I sleep in the opposite side, I've made a right and ran right into somebody just because I'm
Oh,
like,
really? You hit somebody? Wow.
I'm like a salmon going the wrong way.
Does that happen a lot when people are a little disoriented because of just getting woken up?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You work 3 days in a row, and then you have 1 day off, then you work 3 days in a row. I mean, we're one of the biggest battles we face in life really is just constantly being tired because we work in busy areas.
Yeah.
So you're up all night
How
long.
many, and then in a week, how many shifts do you have usually?
Well, it's like 1 week every other day, and then 4 days off, and then a week every other day, and then 6 days off. So it rotates back and forth. But again, you work extra days all the time.
Do you get much sleep when you're during a shift?
No, not a ton.
So are you working off of 1 or 2 hours of sleep sometimes or something?
Oh, on a regular basis.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
1 or 2 hours?
There's days where you've basically been up for like 3-4 days in a row.
Are people ever getting delusional because of that?
You feel that way sometimes, but the thing is with fires especially, or like any kind of serious emergency, you get a little bit of an adrenaline rush, so that kind of straightens you out, you know?
Oh.
But firemen actually suffer 4 times the cancer risk of most people.
Well, because of the
And
fire stuff, yeah.
Heart attacks and everything else, our lack of sleep and all the stuff that we come across smoke-wise, yeah, we have a much higher rate of illness than most people.
Do you get kind of small sicknesses a lot, or what? Like colds and stuff?
We're exposed to colds and flus every day, so yeah,
So
you get run down quite a bit, you know?
Oh, firefighters do get sick a lot.
Oh, yeah. I'd say
Are they sick most of the time?
I wouldn't say most of the time, but you're just in contact with people with every kind of disease and sickness you could think of every day. So
Yeah, and you don't have a lot of sleep and stuff.
right,
Yeah.
So you get run down, you know.
Are there things that firefighters do, like take emergency and stuff, or?
We actually have it as a staple item at our station. We have a whole drawer full of it.
You ever try Zycam?
Well, when one guy gets sick in the station, we try and like quarantine him a little bit. Say,
oh,
dude,
really?
Get out of here. Go to your room. You know, stay in your room. We don't want to deal with you. But yeah, generally speaking, one guy gets it. And
if that guy if you guys kind of tell him to go to his room, does he get sad that no one wants to hang out with him?
Who cares? He's in his room. That's his problem.
Do you guys have Zycam? Do you guys use that?
No, not really. I mean, some guys do.
Uh-huh.
It's a personal thing, whatever.
Are there any guys who are just immune to everything and they just seem bulletproof?
Yeah, but that's.
Are you ever kind of thinking, what's up with this guy? He just seems like almost like a robot or something.
Yeah, we got a few of those guys.
like what's up with that?
Yeah, they never get sick. They're good at everything, and you're like, you son of a bitch. Why are you excellent at everything you do?
And those guys like that, are they humble or are they not, or what?
That's person to person basis, you know. That's just a personality thing. That's society, you know. Some people are humble, some are not. I'd say my department specifically is a more humble type of culture, you know, in general. It's one of those things where I think if you work for a real busy fire department, you don't have anything to prove because you work. You go to fires, you do your job. And I guess if you work for a smaller fire department, sometimes, you know, you don't actually get to fight as much fire and stuff like that. So,
what's one of your most proudest moments fighting fires?
Oh, my proudest moments. I don't know. I've never even thought about that before.
I mean, there's no particular time you can think of that you felt really fulfilled, particularly fulfilled, or particularly like you felt some sort of sense of real
well, yeah,
achievement?
I mean, I would say in general, when you actually save somebody, you know, that's...
Was there any particular saving of somebody in particular that sticks out in your mind?
No, I've had a couple, and they're all kind of the same. You know, when you actually... we train to do this job to save people's lives at the end of the day. So when you actually are able to perform your job and actually save somebody's life, it's pretty awesome. You know, we had a guy who actually crashed in a plane, and 3 of the other people deceased, but we pulled one guy out, and I'd say actually that was one of my prouder moments.
Yeah,
we pulled a guy out. We cut the plane open.
What kind of plane was it? Was it a small?
It was a smaller, like King Air, like private aircraft.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And after cutting the plane open and getting him out, I mean, I thought there's no way this guy's going to live. You know, he was hanging on by a thread. We were breathing for him.
What was wrong with, like, what did he have going on? That was.
I mean, his
how was he
entire
injured?
skull was exposed.
Wow.
It was like a big cap that kind of cut off his head.
Wow.
And multiple broken bones and injuries and punctured lungs. You name it, he had it. We actually 6 months later got to meet him and his whole family. So
Wow.
Oh my God.
that was pretty awesome. He was actually up and walking and talking to us.
How old was he?
He was probably in his 50s.
Was it super emotional?
Yeah, they were pretty emotional. Yeah.
Do you get emotional on stuff like that?
I mean, not really. I think most of us that are firefighters tend to kind of bottle up our emotions quite a bit. You know, I don't think it's not really the kind of job where you can be outwardly emotional. If we got emotional about every call we went on, it'd be a big problem. You know, I've had a couple calls, mostly with children that, you know, they remind me of my niece or nephew. I had a second where I was just like kind of stunned, like, oh my God, you know, this is like.
Oh, yeah.
Do firemen cry?
I'm sure they do. Yeah.
I mean, do you ever?
I'll
do
never
you ever
admit to it.
Have you ever seen someone cry because of something?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When we go on particularly difficult calls, we have what we call a CISD team, critical incident stress debriefing. So when we go on really gnarly calls, generally speaking, those units will go out of service and they have a special team of specially trained peers that will actually sit in a room and talk about it and, you know, kind of get it all out on the table. Because we're not real outwardly emotional, right? So they created these teams. I mean, I can't talk to somebody who hasn't done my job about what I'm going through, right? So that's why we've trained our peers who mutually we do the same job. We know if he's asking me a question, I know that he's done the same job.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
What's a really gnarly situation?
Like a little kid that fell out of a third-story window and smacked right on her head, you know, 3 years old. It's just stuff like that. You know, it's a mess. You show up on scene, there's people everywhere losing their minds. You know, the parents are losing their minds.
What are you supposed to do in that case?
Like,
what's your job in that situation?
Well, realistically, our job is not really to save people per se. It's more to keep them alive, to get them to the hospital. Because when somebody is seriously injured like that, what they need is a doctor. They need emergency surgery. Our job is to keep them alive long enough to deliver them to the emergency room so they can get the care that they really need. Mm-hmm. So in that situation, we call it diesel. That's what they really need. We need to scoop that person up, get them in the ambulance. We do have some medications and we do perform certain things to keep them alive.
Oh, you do too?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then we get them to the hospital, and then obviously from there.
Do you ever drive the truck?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm.
Does every member of the team have to know how to do every part of every kind of job?
Every department's a little bit different, but there is a captain, there's an engineer, and then there's your firefighters, right? Well, your captain is obviously the guy in charge with the red hat. The engineer is the guy that actually drives, and that's a promotional position. So after 6 years or 4 years as a fireman, you can actually take the test for engineer.
Is that a sought-after position?
Yeah, I mean, it's a promotion.
Yeah.
Is it stressful to be driving like that? Siren on, cutting through?
And is there's someone steering the back of it too, right?
Yeah, that's what I do now. You know, in our station we have an engine and a truck company, and it's called a tillerman actually.
Tillerman?
He tillers the truck. He drives the back of it. So the firemen at my station, we rotate through that.
Is the fire truck ever kind of swinging back and forth?
All the time.
It is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. The reason they do that is, you know, you see a big rig pull out onto a street and make a turn. He's got to go super wide, right? Well, that's why the wheels of the big truck, we can turn the back so we can cut short corners and stuff like that. Get in the alleyways. It's an access thing.
I mean, is there any element of it that makes you feel like you're playing a video game when you're driving the truck? Or driving the
video
or doing the tiller? Yeah, the tiller.
I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty damn fun to be back there.
Is it really?
Oh yeah.
Are you listening to music, or is it more like you have to
we have a stereo, but it's really not that loud because we're listening to our dispatch.
Yeah,
like that all the time.
What kind of music is playing? You know, well,
depends on who's driving.
Okay, say you're the tillerman or whatever.
Well,
it's called a tillerman.
Yeah, the tillerman.
Yeah,
the tillerman does. Yeah, I listen to whatever's in the cab because that's what's playing over all of our headsets.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, so whoever's driving tends to pick the music.
What do they pick? usually.
You name it, they pick it. You know, everything
Paul
from
Simon,
Likes to country music. You know,
Uh-huh.
it's across the board. Yeah.
I mean,
We got guys that are from every walk of life, all parts of society. It's a very diverse group.
Would you like to be driving the front at one point?
That's not something that
It's called engineer. Yeah.
Originally, I wanted to. I had kind of like a plan laid out. You know, 10 years as a fireman, 5 years as an engineer. But I've actually decided I don't think I'm going to do that position. Only because when you're the engineer, you can't go inside on fires for the most part, unless it's a really big
you
fire.
can't go in?
No, because you're the guy that actually controls all you
You controls the hose and
yeah,
stuff?
you're controlling water pressures and who's getting water, and you're like a logistics guy, or you're a behind the scenes guy. So you're doing everything to make sure.
Do you think those jobs are better suited for foxes?
I guess, I don't know.
I got one. When you get to the fire, the building's on fire. Is there an order? Who goes in first, or is it just whoever gets there, or is it like some places are smaller, so then you would throw in the fox?
No, actually, our department has a very it's like organized chaos. We have each position has a specific task they need to perform. So the guy that sits behind the captain is called the nozzleman, and then the guy that sits behind the engineer is the hydrant guy. So if we go to a fire and we need to take a hydrant, the guy in that number 3 spot already knows I'm the hydrant guy. So when they stop at the hydrant, there isn't even any verbal anything. Just say, hey, take a hydrant, and the one guy gets off.
What about going in, entering the building?
Same thing.
Oh, yeah. You guys have a designated order ahead of time.
We do. And the way it kind of works is the newest member, when you're on probation, you get the nozzle every single time. You're the one that pulls the line. Obviously, if it's a bigger line, you help the guy. But when you're a new member, you're on the nozzle, you're on the tools, because they want you to get the experience. Once you're off probation.
So they kind of just throw you in. When you're new, they throw you into the harder spots, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you put them in the busier places.
The nozzle is holding the
Right.
front of the hose. Is it hard to hold the hose? I mean,
it's not easy.
I mean, it's a
skill.
If
for
somebody
sure.
like me held the hose, would I just be thrown over? I would just be thrown over
be
on the floor or
hurled into the
something?
wall.
Without any training, it would kick your ass.
Yeah.
But obviously, that's
is
the whole thing.
is the hose just kind of just going crazy when there's water going
It
through
will.
it? I mean, it just
If you lose your nozzle and it's open, it'll knock you out straight up. Because
has anyone ever gotten hit in the face with a nozzle?
Yeah.
and stuff?
For sure they have.
And they've gotten knocked out.
Stitches, the whole deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many guys does it take to hold the hose?
It depends on the size. So we have like an 1 3/4 hotline, they call it, which is it's already pre-connected. 150 foot, 200 foot, 350 feet, 250 feet. We have different size hoses already pre-connected and ready. So when you pull it off, then all they have to do is pull the gate to give you water. So depending on the size of the hose, not just the length of it, but it's more so the diameter.
We'll say the biggest hose, it takes how many men to hold it? And women?
To actually fight fire, I mean, you could do it with 3 or 4, but to be effective with a hose line, on a larger diameter hose line, you're going to need 2 companies on that hose.
Really?
Yeah.
You need what, 20 people on the hose?
No, 2 companies is like 8 people.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
But again, understand that it's one thing if you're going in a straight line to put water on something, but it's never like that. You're going around corners, and every corner you hit, you need somebody at each corner to advance that line. Everyone's got to be pulling. It's in a
straight line, and you're dealing with the largest hose. You think but you usually use 8. There's 8 guys even holding that.
No, if you're just holding the hose, and you could definitely do it with a couple. You know? But
have you ever?
That's not how we fight fire.
Have you ever been thrown off balance because of the hose?
Yeah, but I've never lost a hose line or anything like that. It happens.
Is the hose scary?
No, no,
it's not scary.
The hose is the least of your problems when you're in a fire. Obviously.
How thick's the tube?
How's what?
How thick?
1 3/4.
That seems not that big.
Well,
actually.
that's for the smaller one.
No. How big is this? The bigger
The larger
range?
one is 2.5 inches.
That still seems. Well, I guess that seems pretty.
Are we talking about the stream?
Yeah, I mean that's the width of the actual hose
of the hose.
So, yeah, I mean you're looking at 250 gallons of water per minute. So
yeah,
that's a lot.
Oh wow.
Do you want to be a captain?
Yeah, I do.
That's sort of the next step for you.
That's going to be my next step, correct? Yeah.
Damn.
I'm actually going to start studying for that. I'm going to start studying for it now for the next test, which will be like a year and a half.
So because you get thrown into the hardest stuff first. Does the job get easier? Well, also the job obviously gets easier probably through experience, but
Right.
does your position get a little easier too as time
I
goes
mean,
on?
it does. Like everything you do in life, right? When you do something on a regular basis, you get better at it.
Yeah.
You know?
But I mean, aside from that, just even your job is not as demanding maybe as you get higher up in the ranks, or what?
That's the thing. It's always demanding and it's always difficult because what we do is never the same, right? No two fires are the same. We constantly see things that you're like, oh my, I've never seen this before, you know, and you draw on experiences from other calls and other situations to handle it. So that's kind of part of the thing about being a fireman too, is it's constantly a new challenge. It's something new, you know. The majority of what we do, medical calls, a heart attack's a heart attack. So we have, you know, you get better at those things. It just becomes fluid.
Why is the fire department called for medical calls? I mean, why not paramedics or whatever?
Well, we are the paramedics.
Oh, you are? Okay,
yeah, that's the other thing people don't tend to realize is, especially here in Southern California, the West Coast, actually in the United States, is kind of at the forefront of the fire service as far as being more of an all-risk department. So we do all medicals. That's part of your job when you become a fireman.
You're a paramedic also.
I'm not a paramedic,
okay.
but I work with the paramedics on every call. So when you become a fireman, at some point, usually they will send you to paramedic school. So all paramedics were firemen at some point. They're still firemen. It's just the difference is this. They basically are able to administer drugs, whereas I cannot administer a drug to somebody because I haven't got a paramedic school.
All the other skills, though, are something that you have too, or
right?
whatever? Yeah.
We're all emergency medical technicians. We're all trained to the medical level, but we don't actually push drugs. The paramedics push the drugs. I don't want to be a medic because then you have to ride on the ambulance. And when you have to ride on the ambulance, then you don't get to be on the nozzle and you don't get to be on the roof cutting a hole in it. So,
right.
I want to play fireman. I don't want to play.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it hard to plug the hose into the fire hydrant?
No, it's not too hard. You just screw it right on.
What are the tools you got with you instead of the axe?
Well, we carry a variety of hand tools, like all kinds of. We have a couple different kinds of pliers, screwdrivers. Because again, like we're not just going to fires, right? We're going to car accidents when people can't shut off their water. You know, you have to know about water heaters and plumbing and electrical and everything else.
You prefer to have fire calls, right, over the medical calls?
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah. I mean, that's the main.
That's the number one passion.
Yeah, right.
Fire.
It's about fighting fire. By the way, I wanted to ask you earlier. Has anyone ever accidentally fallen down the pole hole?
Broken legs. It's happened.
Oh, really? Yeah. So especially
if you grab that thing with wet hands, there's no stopping.
And has anyone ever sort of being kind of disoriented because they were just sleeping, accidentally just sort of walked right into the hole?
I wouldn't say they've actually walked into it because they're very specific. It's literally a room. You know, it's kind of funny. I did my first ride along with the Glendale Fire Department actually when I was an EMT and in training. I wasn't a fireman yet, so I go upstairs. I put all my stuff in the room, and I'm just a civilian riding along. And they get a call, and the guy knocks on my door, and he's like, "Hey man, hit the pole." And I was like, "The pole?" You know, I walk out of the door, and literally there's a door that says "pole hole." And you open it. And
wow! There's a door for it now.
Yeah.
So it's not just an open thing.
No, there's like a little room where when you go through that door, you know that's what you're going.
Is going down the pole kind of scary?
No, it's awesome.
How high is it? It's just
two stories.
The biggest one we have is probably 25 feet. There's actually a 2-level one. You have to drop down
25
one level
feet?
and then go over and drop down the other.
Is there?
You switch over to a different pole?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there a ping pong table in that room?
There is a ping pong table at that station, actually.
Real quick, going back to the pole, is it? Do people ever burn their hands or anything? Or do you ever get any kind of
nothing serious
friction burn or something?
Yeah,
like
nothing
that?
serious. I mean, usually use your foot on the pole to slow you down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you clean your? Do you dry clean your fire suit, or how does that work?
Our fire suit?
Yeah.
No, we have special washers for them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're called extractors, but it's a special.
How many
system.
suits have you had?
I'm on my 3rd set of turnouts. They're called turnouts.
Does anyone ever have any kind of OCD kind of stuff in the department?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, do they ever get into a place? Say it's a medical call or whatever the case may be. Is anyone ever kind of germophobic and stuff?
There's a ton of germaphobes. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how do they deal with doing the job?
Just wash your hands constantly.
Are people ever? are certain guys ever weird about, like say sliding down the pole after all these other guys have slid down the pole?
The fire service is a snapshot of society. So yeah, you've got people that freak out about that. Everyone's got their little idiosyncrasies. They've got their, like when I show up at work, I have a very specific process. I need everything in its exact place. So that.
So you kind of OCD too, a little bit about certain things. Organizational.
When it comes to like the firefighting aspect of it, we have to be that way with our gear because you have to be fire ready at all times. If it's not put back the same way in the same position every single time, it's because of waking up in the middle of the night, going to use a tool. You pretty much program yourself to make sure that everything is always the same, and that's part of rogue memory.
Does anyone ever get like disinfectant wipes on, say, the pole or whatever before
we clean the pole once a week. We
Okay.
polish it. It's brass, so it gets polished once a week.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, the majority of guys are not germaphobes, but
Yeah.
there's always a couple.
Right.
You ever have visitors at the station?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our family and friends. Yeah, my nieces and nephews and my sisters, and yeah. My parents were just at my fire station with my aunts just last weekend.
But are you kind of thinking that you don't want people to really visit you because you have to sleep and stuff?
No, we love having visitors.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Do you guys how often are ride-alongs?
It's a very
doable?
family-oriented environment. I mean, it's pretty much your second family. So, how long are ride-alongs?
No, how easy it is to do a ride-along.
It's pretty easy.
For any, any
you can call up any headquarters of any fire department and request a ride-along.
Is it
and it's not a
dangerous to
problem.
be doing a ride-along?
No, I wouldn't say so.
I do.
No.
Oh, you do it?
Yeah.
Can you sit at the near the tillerman when you're
Not
in a
the
rider?
tillerman.
No, okay.
Not unless you're training. There's an actual seat that attaches to the outside of it, so you sit outside, and then the guy training is next to him.
Is there a ladder guy who deals with the ladder and stuff?
The firemen throw all the ladders.
Uh-huh.
On the big truck, the engineer, he throws the ladder, like the big 100-foot aerial ladder. He's the one that actually will throw it to a building.
Are there ever any fights that break out between firefighters?
There have been in the past, yeah.
Just personalities clashing?
Yeah, definitely. There's, it's like everything else. You got personality conflicts and problems, and guys get moved to different stations sometimes.
And
I would say it's not the norm,
Yeah.
but it does happen.
Have you ever had any beef with anybody in your unit?
Sure, I have. Yeah.
Have you guys fought?
No, not physically.
Just argued.
No, just yeah.
Ever after a case, like you didn't like how they handled something, and afterwards you're out in the lawn near the.
It's a very
screaming at 'em.
We're a very vocal group, so our department, again, we kind of pride ourselves in being professionals, and part of that is you get called out on your mistakes. So when you screw something up, everybody knows, and the peer pressure is part of the drive to get better and continuously do your job well, because you don't want to let your team members down. That's part of the deal. You're part of the team. So if one guy screws up the operation, he's screwing everybody else over. So that's part of the drive to make sure you do everything the way you're supposed to.
Do you guys think of yourselves sometimes like a sports team or something? And
Definitely.
That is such a good question.
Definitely. I truly feel that we're like we're basically professional athletes. I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
we have to work out constantly. Like, people joke like, "Oh, you firemen sit around and you work out." Well, we do, but when you're there for 24 hours, you have to be in shape.
There's a
to
gym
do our
at
job.
the fire station.
We do. We have a gym. Yeah.
Is everyone in the unit like an athlete at some point, or were they an athlete?
Not
Were
everybody.
you an
but,
athlete?
I was not an athlete, but that's because my high school career didn't involve sports. It involved ditching and screwing off pretty much. So
And starting fires, maybe.
yeah,
I'm just saying.
but I've been in sports, growing up, and I'm a mountain biker and a surfer and a snowboarder and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, our job is very physically demanding.
But also, just even the way you're going to attack a situation, you have almost like a play, right?
Yeah. We do. We do.
It's similar.
And since I've been with my crew for 8 years, like it's like an organized. It's literally me and the other firemen when we're working together. We just look at each other because we know each other so well. It's like a dance. You just operate around each other, and you already know it's a system, and it just works.
Is there a coach? Kind of.
Well, I guess the
captain?
captain. The captain would be like.
Isn't there someone besides?
Captain's like the dad at the fire station.
How old is the captain usually?
It varies. I'd say anywhere from like early 30s to 50.
who is there an older person at the station that's not the captain? That's They don't go on the jobs, but they're there at the.
No, I mean, there's always a senior guy at every fire station. The guy who's been there the longest time on the job is a pretty big thing with us.
What's higher than the captain?
Battalion chief.
What is it called?
A battalion chief.
What's higher than that? Just chief.
A regular chief. You have deputy chiefs, assistant chiefs, and then the fire chief.
So how old is a chief usually?
I'd say
main chief.
Generally speaking, like late 40s, mid to late 40s plus.
When does a firefighter retire?
Well, you can retire at 50, but to maximize your retirement, you have to put 30 years in on the job. So.
Oh, do you like your chief?
Next question. My battalion chief is awesome, but our actual fire chief, it's just tough. Those guys are in a spot where they, they're basically politicians at that point, and they're, they got the city council to deal with. Their job is different. They're not firemen.
Are there any chiefs that wind up in that position who never didn't go through all the steps of being a firefighter?
Yes, there are definitely. I mean, it's like everything, right? So if you become a fireman and you work at busy fire stations your whole career, you develop a certain amount of respect from your peers, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, that guy's done it. He knows his job. He's dialed in. He's very good at it. And then there's guys who basically just promote and skip steps, don't put their time in, and really it's just a different.
Is it possible to get a chief position without even having worked in fire before?
Well, not without having worked in fire, no. You have to be a fireman, but you can be a fireman at a slow place and not study your craft, and you could be a shitty fireman basically and still promote, because the promotional exam it's a test. You could study for a test. You can't study for the job. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Either you're good at your job because you're doing it, or you suck at it because you don't really care about your job that much.
Do people, how you described yourself as bad news bearers, right?
Yeah.
Do other fire departments look at you guys like that?
I would say definitely some people. Like, I'll give you an example. I went to a class out in San Diego for urban search and rescue. It was like a trench rescue class, whatever. And there was 15 of us on our department in this class. There was like 50
15 from your unit that were there.
15 from our fire department in this class of like 50 people, 40 people. Well, one of the guys there was actually my captain.
Okay.
But the first 2 days of class, there's no safety gear out. You're just in your regular civilian clothes. Well, we were giving each other a hard time in class, and we were, being kind of obnoxious, I suppose. And then the third day, you put all your gear on, and one of the guys like, "That guy's your captain?" I was like, yeah, why? He's like, "I can't believe you talked to him like that." I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "Dude, I would be written up for speaking to my captain like that." So it's a different culture for us. For us, it's like we're all just grown men on a team, and we work together. But a lot of places, it's very militaristic. So it's sir, yes, sir, sir, no, sir.
Oh, really?
Grab the wall.
So your department's pretty just relaxed.
It's a little bit more relaxed. Yeah. Our department is more focused around.
So some of them performance. Some of them have to say sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, a lot of departments are that way. Like even if your friend promotes to captain the next day, when he shows up at the station, you have to be like, Captain so and so. Which in our department it'd be like, no, that's not going to fly.
So you're a captain, you just call him Jim or whatever his name is,
Yeah, exactly. It's just,
Is he, you like him?
He's my captain? Yeah. I've been very fortunate. All the captains that I've worked for have been very, very good captains, so I've learned a lot from.
Is there any, there's corruption in police departments sometimes? Is there any kind of corruption in fire departments? And if
not really.
No, and if there was, how would that play out exactly? What kind of things could shady firefighters get into?
There really isn't, to be honest.
Has there ever been a firefighter who starts fires himself just to fight them?
There was a guy actually that worked for Glendale Fire, John Orr, I believe is his name, and he was actually an arson guy.
No kidding.
His job was arson investigator, and the way they caught him was he was lighting fires up
and
down
that's crazy.
California.
Wait. Okay, so he would start the fires so that he could put them out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he didn't actually put them out because he was not part of operations. He was an arson investigator, former fireman. We have different things within the department, fire prevention.
Wait, why was he starting these fires?
Because he was Yeah, I mean,
just
he was an
crazy.
arsonist.
He's just
he was an
kinda
arsonist.
Yeah.
That was his job was arson, and he was an arsonist.
Uh-huh.
And the way they caught him was there was a conference up north in Northern California, and they noticed this pattern. Somebody finally noticed a pattern that every time they had a conference, fires would be lit all along that corridor and all the way back. So someone finally put it all together, and they caught him. He's in jail still today.
Wow. So what I was asking is there a guy? Has you ever seen somebody who starts fires so they could fight them because they're bored or not bored but they're just trying to challenge themselves.
I've never been across anyone like that, but it does happen.
Actually, have you ever
especially in the force? It happens quite a bit.
Well, actually, have you ever done something to challenge yourself in a safe environment? Mm-hmm. Have you ever started a fire in order to practice putting it out?
Oh, we have actual live burns that we do. So we have a special building at our training center, and we do live burns on a regular basis.
How often do you think
our live burns are actually better than some of our regular fires a lot of the time?
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
I mean, we light them off pretty good.
You look forward to that.
Oh, yeah. Any fighting.
Is that pretty fun to have the opportunity to start fires?
It is awesome because when you do controlled burns like that, there's different positions where you can actually monitor the fire and watch the fire from like an outsider looking in and watch the crews coming in. So you can learn a lot. There's a lot of benefit to doing that. How
well do you think the media portrays firefighters?
Horribly.
So all movies.
Good one.
What do firefighters think of that movie Backdraft?
It's funny. It's kind of a joke. I mean, it's not reality. You know what I mean? It's really not reality. I remember my mom calls me one day, and she was watching that show, Chicago Fire, and she's like, "Oh, Victor, do you guys really have to saw people's arms off if they're trapped under something?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, we use it all the time. We saws all people's arms off." She's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Mom, I'm joking. No, we don't cut people's arms off. We move the object." So I think the way that we're portrayed, we're portrayed. People just don't realize the amount of stuff that we do and the amount of education and the level of training that we go through. Like you guys earlier were just like, wait, you're a paramedic? I mean, people don't understand. Like when you call 911, you get the fire department. Doesn't matter what the thing is or what the problem is. You know, it doesn't matter if it's an earthquake, a broken pipe in your house.
Wait, when you call 911, it goes to the fire department first?
Well, technically it goes through CHP, I believe. But yeah, when you call 911, you get the fire department and the police department. That's who it goes to.
Both, yeah, okay, yeah.
I mean, it varies a little bit depending on where in the United States you are, right? But here in California, we've got a pretty advanced system, so yeah. Mm-hmm. People call us for all kinds of stuff. I mean,
are there any fire movies that get it right?
I've never seen one that gets it right.
Uh-huh.
No.
I mean,
they definitely portray. Actually, now that you mention that, he probably has the best show I've ever seen on being a fireman.
Yeah, what was that called?
It was on HBO. It was an hour-long documentary because Dennis Leary was actually a New York fireman.
Oh, he was?
He was. And he did a whole hour-long documentary and went back to his old fire crew. And I would say that is the most on-point thing I've ever seen.
Steve Buscemi was a firefighter. Do you know who Steve Buscemi, the actor?
No, I'm not sure.
He's in the show Boardwalk Empire now.
Okay.
He's the star of that. But
I know him.
If you saw him,
he's kind of look. You know, you'd see him. He looks like kind of like a scrawny guy or something, but he's actually.
The other one. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the documentary Burn. No. It's about the Detroit Fire Department. So Google it, Burn. That actually is a very good snapshot into the fire service. It's actually just a really rad documentary about Detroit and everything that happened to it and how they deal with it as a city and as a department.
When you're doing forest fire stuff, are you're by yourself usually there or what?
No, you're never by yourself. I mean, I go out on assignment by myself. So I have some special qualifications from when I was a forest fireman. So they'll actually call me as a single resource to do certain jobs in the wildland environment. So you show up there as one person, but it's everything is a group. It's all a team effort type thing.
Mm-hmm. Was that job kind of boring?
No, not at all.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, being a forest fireman, I loved it. I still love it. You're lighting forests on fire. You're flying around in helicopters. You know, you're fighting fire with fire, which is pretty awesome.
Wait,
you know,
how do you fight fire with fire?
So you have to do burn operations. As a big fire is moving towards, like, let's say, a community, you actually have to time everything perfectly, and the weather and everything has to be within certain parameters. But you actually will put fire on the ground around those houses and have the fire U light drawn into the main fire, and that's how you set up a buffer so that that big forest fire doesn't just slam into the houses and burn them down. So there's a whole...
What do you use to start that fire?
There's a bunch of different tools out there. The fusees are like, looks like a regular road flare. We have drip torches that you actually mix 2 parts to 1 fuel with diesel, and you just drop lines of fuel on the ground. They have heli torches, so they use helicopters. I mean, there's a variety of different firing methods.
Do you ever have
There's
you
an
ever,
actual gun that you shoot.
fire gun?
Yeah.
Oh,
It
like a
shoots-
flamethrower.
It basically it actually shoots like imagine lighting like those Safe and Sane fireworks on fire. It's like that. You load it into the gun, you shoot it, and it'll fly 50, 60 feet up onto a mountainside.
Have you ever been hypnotized by fire?
I've never been hypnotized by fire. No.
You've never been
I
distracted?
love staring at it though. I can watch fire all day long.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you,
You
watch
stare at candles or like a little
Fireplace?
I mean,
fireplace.
doesn't everybody?
I do. Yeah.
Well, yeah, sure.
I
But,
mean, fire is mesmerizing, and I think that's part of the attraction to it.
Do you ever
I mean,
watch
it's-
fire videos?
Yeah, all the
Do
time.
you go online and just watch a lot of fire stuff?
Yeah, pretty regularly. We use those for training.
Uh-huh.
But I mean,
what about
I
just
think
videos of-
everybody's
yeah.
mesmerized by fire.
Sure.
you know?
Maybe firefighters more in
maybe
particular.
more so.
Maybe more so. Yeah.
because we're thinking about it from a different perspective. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you ever? Are there any really artistic guys on your team?
Artistic.
Yeah. And do they ever do paintings of fire? And stuff?
Yeah, we do. We have the fire service again. It's like literally a snapshot
Right.
of society, right? So we have guys who actually do all of our designs. Every station has their own actual intricate design, and
Oh, really?
yeah, we have guys that are plumbers, electricians, roofers.
Are there any firefighters that are nerds?
Yes,
There's nerdy guys.
yeah,
that
we
are
got some
fighting
nerdy
fire.
guys. Yeah,
So are they still tough though?
some of them are, some of them aren't.
So are there wimpy guys?
Who's the smallest guy in your department?
The smallest guy is probably 5'3" or 4".
What's he weighing?
5'3" or 4"?
Yeah, he's
What's
a
he
little
weigh?
guy.
Like 120 or something?
Yeah, he's probably around that. Yeah, he's probably around that.
What does he do?
Well,
He's definitely a fox,
No,
right?
he fights fire like the rest of us. I mean, again, you have to train to a certain level. If you can't train,
Yeah.
if you can't physically accomplish that, you get fired basically. So, I mean, he does the same thing we do.
It's not about strength.
It's not about strength always. I mean, there's a certain amount of strength required, but once you've achieved that certain goal, the stronger you are, the easier it is, I would say. But you could either do it with finesse or with brute force. Every goal can be accomplished. It's all about what you have in your tool bag and how you do it, right? So if I'm going to go through that door, I can kick it down with my foot, or I can pick the lock.
What is a backdraft exactly?
A backdraft is basically, it doesn't happen as often out here because the houses here aren't really sealed up the way they are in the cold areas, in the East Coast, Midwest, and stuff. But it's essentially a fire will start, and then it gets to a point where it turns into all non-combusted materials. So all those particles of the smoke are basically little tiny particles of something that hasn't burned but is still flammable, if that makes sense.
I'm sorry. Okay. So can you say that one more time, actually?
So smoke itself, the reason you can see it is because as something burns, the heat and everything is actually carrying tiny little particles of unburned product, right? So you with me so far?
Unburned product. Okay.
Unburned product. So
That's what smoke is.
that's what smoke
It's
is.
it's heat carrying
Unburned
particles
product.
of wood and
Correct.
stuff or whatever.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. I
So-
never thought of it that way, but
It's
that
bad to
makes
breathe
sense.
that or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's why
yeah.
because that's why we get cancer, because of all the synthetics and stuff.
Right.
Right.
So it's synthetic material that's in the smoke.
Sure.
And it's super
Exactly.
breathable. Okay.
Hydrogen,
so this is
cyanide,
all
all kinds of stuff, yeah.
that's all particles of unburned material. I
Correct.
didn't even realize
Yeah.
that about smoke. That's what that is.
Right.
That it's okay. Go on.
So
yeah.
if you put a fire in a room, right, and it's got some material to burn, well, it gets to a point where it actually will run out of oxygen, but it's still so hot that material is still actually it's still burning, but it's not actively burning by flame, if that makes sense.
Okay, because of the heat. So
Correct. It's so hot. If it's 600 degrees in here, well, then this table is going to continue to kind of burn itself out.
It's the because the fire needs oxygen
Correct.
to stay alive.
Correct.
So this is a situation where there's no oxygen left. So the fire is out, but the heat is on.
Correct.
And
so
it's like an oven or something.
It's exactly right.
Yeah.
And then imagine all those unburned particles are now completely banked and compressed into this little room. So when you have that situation and you open up a door, as soon as you introduce oxygen, it's an actual explosion.
Oh,
because it's compressed in this room. So as soon as it gets the oxygen, it sucks the oxygen in so fast it actually explodes out of the room.
Wow. So it's almost kind of, I mean, in a kind of reverse almost way, when you turn a gas oven on and you have to light it yourself or whatever.
Right.
It's almost
That's
kind of
exactly
like
what you're
that.
doing.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. You're lighting it with the oxygen, though.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And it's hot enough to ignite. The only thing missing was the oxygen. So once you introduce it, it's explosive. It literally is an explosion.
I never thought of the smoke that's what that is. That it's just particles. For some reason, I always thought of it as some sort of product of the fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like a byproduct.
If you look at like a campfire, for example, right? There's a little bit of smoke that comes out of it, but generally speaking, it's a free burning fire. The oxygen is coming in the bottom, and then some of those particles are coming off. But if you put that same campfire in a room, then all that smoke's going to bank down, and it'll remove the oxygen. So,
have you ever had a backdraft situation?
I have not. No. I hope I never do.
Those are those.
I mean, there's
is that the worst thing that could happen in a situation?
I mean, it's not any variety of things that can happen in a fire, falling down.
I mean, is that when a fire situation is most dangerous? Is a backdraft?
A backdraft, a flashover.
What's a flashover?
A flashover is, so you take that same fire and you put it in a room. There is a path for oxygen to come in, but inevitably the fire is going to move faster than it can pull oxygen in, right? So as that smoke and heat starts to bank down into a room, it's literally like a ceiling. Like you could put your head to the floor and look straight across the room, but if you go up 2 feet, you can't see anything because it's banked down. It's all stratified in the environment there. Well, a flashover is when that entire area above you ignites simultaneously. Just in one shot, everything just lights off at the same time. And all fires actually burn that way. So a small fire in any environment, enclosed environment, will start off as a small fire, and then it'll actually build itself up. The smoke and the heat will start to bank down, and eventually the fire will spontaneously ignite across the entire room or the entire area.
The fire just fills the room.
Pretty much out in one shot. Like
Wow.
the entire ceiling of smoke just ignites at one time.
Yeah. Do you think fire is just so crazy?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
Part of fighting fire is actually knowing at what level that room is at. And you have to, obviously, if you reach flashover and you're in that room, your chances of surviving are very small. Mm-hmm. So that's part of the deal, right? Is you have to go in and put the fire out before you reach flashover.
Yeah.
Let me just hit you with a couple
please. Yeah,
real quick ones,
go for a bunch of them.
You ever have any nightmares about this kind of thing?
Nightmares?
Oh, that's a good
About
I have
fires.
nightmares about cockroaches.
Oh, do you really? Do you have cockroaches?
No, but a lot of the houses we go into are filled with them. I had
really?
about a 2-inch cockroach stuck in my turnouts once during a little fire.
Stuck in your what?
In my turnouts, like it was crawling around.
What's a turnout?
Turnouts are the gear that you see us wear.
Oh, okay.
That's what we wear into the fire.
Is
There was
crawled up in it?
It was in there.
Yeah, it crawled all the way up and onto my arm, so I kind of.
It was inside. It would crawl up your leg or something
Yeah,
like that. Oh my
exactly.
goodness.
That's horrific, huh?
Ever since then, I can't stand cockroaches.
Oh wow.
But we go on calls all the time. Obviously, in a lower income area, you go into houses where there's cockroaches, and they're pretty disgusting houses.
Are they just all over the houses?
everywhere? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them crawling all over the people you're going on, everything else.
Aren't your suits kind of what are they called? Turnouts? Yeah,
Turnouts.
Aren't they kind of insulated in a way where?
There's insulation, but
I mean, the bugs can get in there still.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And again, a lot of the places we go to, people that are unhealthy and people who have fires tend to be a lot of pack rat conditions.
Yeah.
So
Right.
a pack rat house obviously has a much
Do you
higher
see
likelihood.
just gross stuff at
All the
these
time.
houses?
All the time.
And do you see just poo and stuff everywhere?
All the time.
Really?
All
Wow.
the time. Yeah, on a regular basis. You know,
Uh-huh. Have you ever been to a rat infested house and stuff?
many, many times.
What about raccoon infested?
Not raccoon. I've had raccoon issues at my own house, but
Do you ever have? So you haven't had nightmares about fire though?
no, I wouldn't say that. I've actually had a lot of dreams about fire, like fighting fire in my dreams.
Yeah.
But I can't say I've ever actually had a nightmare where I got stuck burning or something like that.
Or have you ever had a dream that fire was a monster or something? There was a fire monster or
Nothing
something
like that. Every fire, every dream I've ever had was me actually fighting fire with my buddies.
That's good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you smoke cigarettes?
No, I used to. Not anymore.
Are
I don't know,
cigarettes?
just thinking it must. You got to light a little mini fire every time.
Most cities make you sign a smoking policy, so most firemen. I mean, nowadays the fire service has transitioned to an extremely healthy deal.
Is it
a lot of
yeah.
CrossFit? We eat a lot healthier than we used to, and the whole thing.
I mean, is it weird to breathe? Smoke cigarette smoke, knowing what smoke is all about, and fires are all about. Is it?
No,
I mean, doesn't that make it easy for firefighters to not smoke? Or
no. I mean, being a fireman,
I guess you're breathing that stuff in anyway. Right?
Some guys look at it the opposite way. Like, what does it even matter if I smoke?
Right.
If I fire,
Doctors,
so
that's
true.
what does it matter?
Right.
And
we have a lot of guys that get cancer at a very young age.
Oh yeah,
we've had quite a few.
But
guys.
that's because of the fire smoke from cigarettes.
And it's worse now because of all the synthetic materials in our couches and all that stuff. So
right, so that makes fire. Oh wow, so that makes fires a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, a synthetic couch it actually produces hydrogen cyanide. It's we've got monitors, gas monitors, and stuff.
Is there are there any activist firefighters who want to change the way that household products are made?
Not really. I mean, business is business, money is money. We're not going to change our product. I'd say the activism part of it is more focused around getting firefighters cancer coverage, because a lot of cities, firemen will come down with cancer 25, 30 years into their career or afterwards, and cities don't want to pay for it. And the bottom line is we're getting cancer because of the job that we do.
Yeah, even with masks on and stuff.
It doesn't matter because, again, those incomplete products of combustion, even after the fire's out and you're doing overhaul, it's still, you're still breathing that stuff in. Mm-hmm. So you go to a car fire, I mean, you're still breathing the smoke at some point,
Yeah.
And is there anything else you use besides water to put out fire?
We use foam as well.
Oh, foam?
What's that looking like?
It's like an Ibiza foam party?
It basically just allows the water to penetrate. It could be. Different types of fires require different types.
What's the consistency of the foam?
It depends.
Oh.
We have different forms of application, so we can actually make it like an Ibiza party, 4 feet of real thick foam, or you can actually, it's just like an agent added into the water. When we fight fire, it's water, but in the overhaul process afterwards, or in flammable liquid fires. So if you have like a tank farm that lights off, you actually put a blanket of foam on it to put it out because you have to seal it off.
Is there any kind of way to put out a fire with like a fan or something?
A fan.
I know that will spread it probably, but
a fan's not good for fire. Yeah. As soon as you add more oxygen, equals a bigger fire.
Yeah. I'm thinking about a dust of some sort.
A what?
A dust.
A dust.
A dust is going to be flammable, I think, right?
Well, we have some certain different types of fire extinguishers. There are specific chemicals designed to smother certain types of fires. So
what are those? What is in the fire extinguisher?
It depends on the kind of extinguisher. One of them is halon. Mm-hmm. There's some of them, the agents do different things. So one extinguisher actually just cuts off oxygen from the environment. Another one forms a coating over the fire, so it actually does the same thing, cuts off the oxygen. And then one of them is just water with a little bit of foam added to it.
Yeah, how come there's not giant fire extinguishers?
How come they don't?
Yeah, like gigantic ones.
Yeah, that's what we are.
I guess so.
Are there any guys? Your group is really tight, right?
Really tight. Yeah.
Are there any guys who are kind of do their own thing? They don't really fit in as much, or?
I mean, some stations have those guys, but
and I mean, does that kind of not work for when you guys are working?
No. Well, generally speaking, each crew you kind of gravitate towards the other firemen that are kind of like you, personality-wise. That's why you've got certain houses that are like animal houses, where it's just a bunch of dudes who are.
Is it dirty, messy in these places?
No, we keep it super clean, man. We're very organized. Everything has a place. Like, part of your morning thing is you clean the whole fire station. We mow our own lawns. We clean our stove once a week.
Is anyone is everyone pretty much on the same schedule?
Yep.
Or okay, so there's no one's just sort of just has a reverse clock or something, and then they're kind of up at the wrong hours and stuff.
No, everyone's pretty much on the same schedule.
Anybody sneak booze?
No.
Good.
No, that's definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
That goes right back to like women in the fire service, all those old days of partying and stuff.
Yeah.
No, we're extremely professional organization.
How
often do firefighters have to be drug tested and stuff?
Well, that depends on your department. Like our department, if you crash a vehicle, then you get tested. But there's no like random testing for us. But if you get an accident, then you get tested.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, any last final thoughts on
What do you eat for breakfast?
What did I have for breakfast this morning?
Or like most days at the office?
3 hard-boiled eggs
With what?
by themselves.
Just straight up?
That's
No
because
salt,
I'm getting
nothing?
older, though. I'm trying to lose weight.
Oh, really? Are you the strongest you've ever been right now?
No.
You used to be stronger?
Yeah, for sure.
Why?
really?
I'm getting older. It's getting harder to stay in shape. I mean, we're plagued with injuries. It's constant. You know, like you guys mentioned
Right.
being basically a professional athlete. We work out every day. Our job is physically demanding, and that comes with injuries. So it's a constant. The older you get, it's just an elbow's off, a knee is off. Something's always hindering you at some point.
Do people take supplements?
Yeah.
What about like illegal ones, like steroids?
No, none of that stuff. No.
Just maybe like
I imagine
vitamins.
someone somewhere has. I think the biggest thing with the fire department, which is really what makes it different than every other job or career, is ultimately at the end of the day, we're probably the only group of people who, on your worst day of your life, you trust us to come into your house
Right.
and be around your family, whatever's in your house and everything else. So pretty much the only thing that is absolutely not okay is dishonesty.
Right.
So I think that's why in general, firemen, there is no, not even the cops. Even the cops, they show up to help you. People don't society does not trust police officers, So our number one thing as firefighters is to continually keep the public and us having that relationship where they trust us 100% no matter what, I'm going to walk into your house on the worst day of your life. That's when you're going to see me. So I need to make sure that you trust me.
One last thing. What's the most outrageous thing you've seen? Like that was
outrageous.
Yeah, like similar to the handcuff thing. What was the most outrageous thing? It wasn't even a fire situation. It was like a medical call.
It was the middle of winter, and a guy broke into a bunch of stables that we have in our area, and he rolled around in horse shit, rubbed it all over himself, and then shoved his entire arm up a horse's ass.
Wait. And who made the call for that? Like, what? How did that?
Somebody saw him.
My God.
And so they called you and said, "Hey, we got this guy over here. He's rolling around in horse poo and stuff."
Yeah.
And so, what did you guys think when you got the call?
I mean, we see all kinds of weird things. So.
What did you guys think? Okay, guys, let's go. What was the attitude? Were you guys? Was the attitude more reluctant, or was it reluctant? Were you kind of excited? Okay, let's check this out.
A little bit of both. But it's more like, oh shit, who's gonna? Man, I really hope this guy comes with no problems. You know what I mean? Because nobody wants to tackle a naked guy with shit all over him. So luckily it wasn't an issue.
And did you use the hose on him?
No. You just wrap him up like a burrito on plastic blankets and throw him on the rig,
Uh-huh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I think he needs a blast probably at that point. You take him back to the station,
He's
blast him with a hose,
Yeah.
Put it up there.
What happened? Was he easy to deal with?
Yeah, he's just obviously had some mental issues. So
And you just wrapped him up?
Yeah, put him in the ambulance.
Are people kind of being a little distant about the way they were wrapping him up? They're kind of just throwing the blanket on him?
Well, that's when that goes back to seniority, right?
You send the young guys to do it.
Guy.
Oh, yeah.
When you're the rookie, you take the worst job every single
goodness,
time, right? When it comes to scrubbing toilets or dealing with that kind of stuff. As you promote and you're longer on the job, hey, get in there.
And was the horse okay afterwards?
I don't think the horse noticed it.
All right. Well, look, thanks so much for coming over
and
doing this. Yeah, we really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And thanks so much.
All right, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Our guest has been Victor. Thank you to Donny Divanian for being here as usual.
Thanks.
Our engineer is Ari Manis. Our associate producer is Elizabeth Messick. My name is Brent Weinbach. The name of the program is Pointed Questions. Thank you for listening.